Hello and welcome to day 113 of 365 days of art. We're back at the easel today. I have a canvas ready to go. I don't know if you guys can see, it's a super light design that I have on there. So what I started with is this rabbit that a lot of you have already seen. If you're on my Facebook page, I posted pictures of this on Facebook and Instagram. Essentially, this was step one for creating a final piece of art. And that's more and more what I'm trying to do is I procrastinate with the best of them, as I'm sure a lot of you do too. And I'll convince myself, oh, it's fine, I'll just come up with something. And occasionally that works. And I have a lot of fun just throwing paint into canvas. But if you want something that looks really polished and the composition of it looks correct, you have to start somewhere and really plan it out. So I mostly like this guy, except for his hat's a little too big. The carrots, I wasn't quite sure about them. I liked them, I wanted something over here, but I think we can do better. So I took this and I took some tracing paper. And here is step two. So this is where I took the tracing paper and traced all the parts that I already liked. So most of the rabbit I traced, and I just adjusted his hat size a little bit. I hope you can see a difference. You see how it comes off the back there just a little? So this is more correct towards him, and I've changed the carrots into carrot playing cards. So he is the ace of carrots, and I only have 3 here. I did not do 4, and that's because I really don't care for even numbers. I don't think they look right. I think things in sets of odd numbers just look better. You can see here how I planned out the playing card and was able to kind of map it out so that it was even. I just took this and again took the tracing paper, and that's how I was able to have the playing cards all look at least roughly the same. For this next part, I took my tracing paper and took it to my canvas with a graphite paper underneath so that I could trace him on here. What I really love about copying this to the tracing paper instead of another sheet of paper is that I can see through to my canvas, and essentially I can plan the composition a little bit better. If I put this one for one just onto my canvas and lined it up, he's in the middle, and honestly, that's not that interesting. So I personally like when things are a little off center. They're not quite where you think that they're gonna be. Oh, hello, Nori. I forgot to put his bench in the corner, so my lap is totally fair game. I'll grab that later before the next step. Either way, I traced it onto the canvas here. I took an eraser and lifted up as much of the extra graphite as possible, because just like with the markers where you can cause bleeding, as soon as I go over it with wet paint, it's gonna do the same thing and kind of smudge my graphite, and I don't want that pushed all over the page. So lifted it back up, and today what we're going to do, since this is a very prepared canvas and I want to end up with a final product that I'm proud of, we're gonna do an underpainting. I have my acrylics set aside, and the cool thing about acrylics is that you can paint oils over top of them. Now you can't reverse it. You can't put acrylic over oil. That doesn't go as well. I haven't tried it really myself, but everybody that I've read online, I think it has something to do with cracking and drying times. They'll mess each other up. So today we're gonna do the underpainting. I have some very basic colors picked out so I can block out the different areas of my painting. It's not gonna look crazy beautiful when we're done today, because then I'm going to let it dry for 24 hours. Make sure that my acrylics have fully dried on the canvas, and tomorrow we're gonna go in with oils and hopefully start to make it look really pretty. So I'm trying to practice patience and different steps and really prepare for final artwork, amongst all the other things where sometimes you just need to get in there and practice, and that's always good too. So the next step is I'm going to get Nori his own stool to sit on so that I will be free to paint. And I'm also going to go ahead and put in my earbud and start some music. If you would like to listen along to the same music today, I'm listening to Dreams by Gabrielle Aplin. Super love her voice. That being said, let's paint. Hi. Now you guys can see the drawing up close. It's obviously much darker and easy to see. I'm starting out with a flat brush and yellow ochre, and I'm just gonna put that over the entire canvas. After this first layer, make sure that it is completely dry. You don't want to start on your next layer until it is. That's the awesome thing about acrylics though, is that they don't take a lot of time to actually dry, which is great. And also, if you want to keep up, we have a song change. I'm now listening to In Boxes by Aurora. Super love her too. We're also moving on paint-wise to pink this time. I'm still using the same large brush to apply it because this is going to be the background. Now, I'm not fully convinced I'm going to put a super pink background, but I like the idea of the softness of it. So that's the base underpainting color I've decided to use. I hope you've noticed when I paint large areas of color that I'm trying to paint in all sorts of different directions. If you paint too much in the same direction, that's when you get hard lines. I'm not worried too much about any overlap. I'm not trying to get too much into each other, but this is the spot where my colors can come into each other just a little bit, because we're really just laying down a map for what I'm going to do in oils. Now I'm taking a size 6 round brush, and I'm taking this pink and applying it to any other area I think there might be pink. And as much as I usually like to think of color of working from the outside in, so this would really be one of the last things I would paint. However, especially for this underpainting here, I'm just trying to put in blocks of color, and I'm trying to use up all of my paint, and acrylics dry really quickly, so I don't want this sitting here on my palette and I'll waste paint just because it'll dry by the time I get back to it. So essentially this is going to look really blocky when we're done with this underpainting. It's just going to give us kind of this is where the colors are. Next up, I have a size 12 round brush, and I'm using Payne's Gray. I don't want to put any actual black on my underpainting because black is really easy to build up to, but it's so hard to detract from. So that's why I'm sticking with a darker gray to let me know where the idea of something really dark is going to be without actually doing black. So what I'm doing here to differentiate between the top of the hat and where that line is I'm pushing the paint around in different directions. So up top here, you can see it's more of a circle, whereas for the side of the hat, you're going up and down. And that keeps them looking a little more separate. Okay, next up, I still am using my size 12 round brush and burnt umber. This is where we're actually going to color in our bunny rabbit. just tried to change my lighting for you guys a little bit because I really want you to see that even though I'm blocking in color, I'm trying to pay attention to direction of stuff. So like, there we go. I'm just essentially outlining with the dark part of the color where I have a lot of paint. And then I'm coming in and I'm tapping like this to create what would be kind of a fur texture. I'm using water to dilute my paints a little bit so that they spread better and also so that they're not as dark as their base color, because it's not how dark I want it to be. Fun thing, if you've never tried it with acrylic, is that you can take water to it to help spread that paint around for just a little bit after it's on there while it's still wet. And if you do that and you follow lines, you can push the paint out to the edge, and that gives you kind of your guidelines. Essentially, you're outlining your thing without actually outlining it, because as soon as you start outlining things too heavy, that's when it gets super cartoon. And I'm still aiming for something kind of in between. I don't know what I'm looking for exactly. I'm still finding my style, but I know I'll know it when I see it. But I do like the direction that everything's been going lately. I think I'm starting to find what I want. And stuff like making the feet extra fuzzy, because rabbits seem to have a lot of like tufts of fur around their feetsies. They're so cute. But those types of details, that's what we're gonna do with the oil paint. Oh, next up, I think we're gonna do titanium white. This is Master's Touch Thick Body Acrylic. I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll see how much it actually covers and how opaque it is. I didn't want to use my golden, which I know is super opaque, again, because I'm painting over it with oil. So I don't want it to obliterate everything, and I don't want it to obliterate some of these details that I'm gonna paint in. We'll see how it goes. Next up, we have Indian Yellow for the carrots. Indian Yellow is semi-transparent, so I really don't have to worry at all about trying to dilute it or not put too much color on here, because it's already a pretty subtle color. Or not subtle, I mean it has some vibrancy, but yeah, it layers well. It's semi-transparent. I made those A's that Payne's gray, but I honestly think in the final thing, there is a very excellent chance that I'm gonna change those to red. I feel like doing a suit of red instead. Big surprise, right? I don't love red or anything. There we go. Now, the only bad thing that I'm realizing is that I forgot to draw in where my carrot is here. So I'm not going to retrace it, but I am going to use my reference, which is why we should always keep them handy. Because this is where you put all your hard work, right? This was you designing and drawing and erasing. So I'm going to put this up here, and it gives me an idea of where my carrot starts and ends. There we go. And line's right there, so if it comes out, I wouldn't worry about the symmetry as much, but in this case, the reason it matters so much is that these are supposed to be playing cards, so there's some discretion because it's painting by hand, and that's some of the charm of painting by hand versus using digital art, which I'm still very excited to do. But with this, you know, some of those little imperfections, that kind of makes you feel like it's a one-of-a-kind piece. But I still want these cards to match as much as possible. We're moving on to Light Sap Green. This is another semi-transparent one. We're going to continue using the smaller round brush. I really hope this makes sense and that you guys can kind of follow along and enjoy, think of your own creations. You are welcome to, you know, do something similar to this, paint along with me. But the reason I wanted to show you guys this kind of start, you know, from scratch here in the whole process, and we're not finishing it in acrylics, we're finishing it in oils, because I want you guys to, I believe in you. So what I'm trying to get at, I believe in your ability to plan, and if you break it down into little things, I feel like sometimes people don't do some of the bigger projects like doing oils because they do take forever to dry, which is definitely a pain. I can agree with that. But it's because a lot of people will teach acrylics, they dry so fast, and I love that, and I've definitely followed plenty of tutorials about acrylics. But it also made me think, even when I watch people paint in acrylics or oils or whichever, really, you see them go so fast and you just see the end product. And for the longest time, I felt really, yes, impressed by these other artists, but also I was really confused, and it made me feel really bad about myself when I was like, why am I not understanding? You know, all of these, they're just going right in there and making it look awesome, and then you see some behind the scenes stuff from them and you realize, oh, they planned and did little thumbnail sketches and all these sketches that I had never thought about doing before, because I was like, no, isn't it just, you just paint, you just do it. And those people that you see just paint, don't feel bad, because they're doing that after years of learning. They've, you know, if they just paint a tree from their mind, it's because they've painted probably a ton of trees and they know about trees. So it's definitely not something to get dismayed about, and that's why I wanted to share this part of it with you guys. But hopefully you can follow along and feel like you can do the same thing. It just takes work and practice and preparation. These are things that we hear, but we don't always get to see. So I hope seeing this inspires you guys to do something awesome, because you totally have the capability. Our perception our perception can totally shape our reality. Quick thing, this is the only golden color I'm using because I have dioxazine purple and I don't have that in any other paint, but I want him to have purple in here because I think it's a really magical color. All right, believe it or not, this is our stopping point for today, if I keep trying to mess with it and add more color on, even though acrylics dry quickly, you can still reactivate them. And you'll put that water back on there, kind of like I was doing to create all the different lines and my outlines. It'll push the color around on the page, and you're not gonna get the opaque, even layer that you're looking for. Doesn't matter with this one because we are going over top of it with oils. This was just the underpainting, right? So we're gonna let this dry at least 24 hours. I'll come back with it either tomorrow or the next day. We might have to do some prepping and do some more bunnies because I really want, like, I think 4 of these. I think we'll do a full set. So I've got carrots and clovers, and that's all I can think of right now. So if you have a suggestion, leave it down in the comments. I'm so excited you joined me today. Hello, and Nori is too. Actually not, he'd rather have all my attention on him, so. Either way, I hope that you guys are doing lovely, you're still being creative, doing all the awesome things. I'll check in with you guys tomorrow. Bye!